So chapter 2 revision is geometrical meaning. First polynomials. Chapter 2 is the polynomials. The revision, let us start for this. It takes around more time here, and all the concepts will be explained to you clearly. So we are going to learn here definition of the polynomial and its basic terminology. What is the definition of the polynomial and what is the basic terminology? Identifying the zeros of the polynomial by plotting on a graph. In this topic, so first one polynomial is given 5x cube minus 2x square minus x plus 2. Can anyone tell me what is the degree of this polynomial? Polynomial is an algebraic expression.
2.
2 is the degree. No.
Sir, 3.
No, sir,
3 is the degree. 3 is the degree of the polynomial. So here we are going to have the powers should be non-negative. So the real number that precedes the variable is called coefficient. ये उसको वो numbers को क्या बोल रहे हैं? We call them as a coefficients. Coefficients, and that x cube, x square, x and plus 2 are called as variables. They are called as variables. Okay, so it is generally denoted by the p of x or q of x. Whatever it may be, you can denote it. Polynomial, na? So whatever the highest power of the variable you are having, the highest power of the variable is called as a degree of the polynomial. So the degree of this polynomial is 3. So based on the degree, the polynomial is divided into 3 types. One is linear, quadratic and cubic polynomial. So which polynomial is called as a cubic polynomial? Degree 3. So the general form of the cubic polynomial is ax cube plus bx square plus cx plus d. And ABC are called A, B, C, D are real numbers. And here the condition is a should not be equals to 0. Suppose if you take this polynomial, its degree is equals to 1. Isn't it? So then it is called as a linear polynomial. It is called as linear polynomial. The general form of the linear polynomial is ax plus b. And a and b are the real numbers. And here the a should not be equals to 0. So if you take this polynomial into consideration, x square minus 4x plus 3. Power 2. Highest power of the variable is 2. So that's why it is called as a quadratic polynomial. The general form of the quadratic polynomial is ax square plus bx plus c, where a, b, c are the real numbers. And here also a should not be equals to 0. A number be equals means a is nothing but whatever the power you are taking, power of the variable, its coefficient should not be equal to 0. If it becomes 0, the term is not there. So p of 1 is nothing but value of the polynomial. So when you substitute 1 in the place of x, you are getting 0. So therefore that 1 is called as 0 of this polynomial. So there is a lot of difference between the 0 and the polynomial को 0 होता है, equation को root बोलते हैं. So please note that point. Here minus 1 if you substitute in the polynomial, you are getting 8. So that is value of the polynomial. It is called value of that particular polynomial at x is equals to minus 1. So the value of the polynomial p of x when x is equals to k, where k is a real number. So just we have to substitute x by the k. K is nothing but here any real number to be taken into consideration. Either maybe 1, in first case it is 1, in second case it is minus 1. Okay? 1 minute. So this is the value of the polynomials. Now geometrical meaning of the zeros of the polynomial. What is the meaning of geometrical? This is a very important concept, and you may have the questions, case-based questions also based on this. Case study questions can be framed here based on this concept. Geometrical meaning of the zeros of the polynomial, because one figure will be given to you and what are the zeros of this polynomial and what is the value of the polynomial when x is equals to 2, like that questions can be framed based on that. So linear polynomial 4x plus 8 whenever you are considering, and x, y values, coordinates, x can be taken any values -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3 is taken, and according to that the values are y values you are going to get it. And these points you have to plot on a graph. So these are ordered pairs, -3, -4 point here, -2, 0 is point here, -1, 4 point here, 0, 8 here, 1, 12 is here, and 2, 16, 3, 20. Whenever you have. So you join this. So this is a linear polynomial. The linear polynomial graph will be a straight line. Linear polynomial graph will be a straight line. So at the point of -2, that line is touching the x-axis at 0. That is nothing but x value -2. If you take the polynomial value, you are going to get it as 0 in that. So that is nothing but -2 is the 0 of the polynomial. So here 0 can be identified if a polynomial is given in the graphical form, means geometrical representation whenever it is given. That means straight line or polynomial, any curve if you are taking into consider, it touches the x-axis at what point? That point is called as 0 of the polynomial. Suppose if you take here, see, it is touching the x-axis at a point k. K is the 0 of this polynomial. Polynomial is nothing but a straight line को represent करने वाला polynomial का 0 k. It may be a quadratic polynomial or linear. Linear polynomial case, you are going to get a graph straight line. But quadratic polynomial, just like a parabola, you are going to get it. A cubic polynomial, see here, another curve you are going to get it. Like this curve. So it is touching the x-axis at what points? -1, 1 and 2. Two places. The first one graph, whenever you see that, it is touching the x-axis at the 2 points, 1 and 3. At the point 1, 0, 3, 0. So that here it is touching the x-axis at the point of 3 points. The graph of the quadratic polynomial intersects the x-axis maximum 2 points. It may intersect at only 1 point alone. Okay. Polynomial 2 points, maximum 2 points. That is nothing but you may have it single point also. So the shape of the parabola of the quadratic polynomial ax square plus bx plus c, a not equals to 0 depends upon a. If a is greater than 0, the graph will be like this. And if a is less than 0, the graph will be like this. Okay, so that point you have to observe here. And cubic polynomial, whenever you are considering, it is intersecting at the point of -1, 1 and 2. So these three are the zeros of this polynomial. So what are the zeros of this polynomial means directly you can identify. Okay, in first case the zeros are 1, 3. Second case the zeros are -1, 1, 2. So an nth degree polynomial has maximum n zeros. Maximum board. So that means you may have the graph parabola touching at x-axis at only 1 point also you may have the case. In that case, only 1 0 will be there. So don't consider that quadratic polynomial means 2 zeros must and should. You may have the 1 0, you may not have the zeros also. That means that polynomial may have 0, that polynomial may not have the 0. So key points here, what we have learned. X coordinate of the point where the graph of the polynomial intersects the x-axis is called a 0 of the polynomial. An nth degree polynomial intersects the x-axis at the maximum of n points and therefore has a maximum n zeros. Okay. Now shape of the graph of the polynomial is a quadratic polynomial is a parabola. And shape of the polynomial, the quadratic polynomial depends upon the a. If a greater than 0, open upwards. So like this one. If a less than 0, open downwards. Downwards, open. So that is. So quadratic polynomial, ax square plus bx plus c. Now let us go see the relationship between the zeros and coefficients of the polynomial. These three are the coefficients. A, B, C are coefficients. Okay. So relationship between the zeros and coefficients of the polynomial. Let us see here. Okay. So here in this we are going to learn the zeros of the coefficient: linear polynomial, quadratic polynomial, cubic polynomial. Three types of the polynomials will be there, and we are going to establish the relationship between the zeros and coefficients of the three types of the polynomials. First, let us take into consider the linear polynomial, that is p of x is equals to 2x plus 5, where 2 is the coefficient and 5 is the constant. So for this 0 you have to find out. Let us find out the 0 of this polynomial. Can anyone tell me what is the 0 of this polynomial? इसका 0 क्या है बोल सकता है कोई? What is the 0 of this polynomial?
Minus 5 by 2.
Yes, the 0 of this polynomial is minus 5 by 2. So a real number k is the 0 of the polynomial. Let for x is equals to alpha, p of x equal to 0. Means we will consider the alpha. So we are going to get that alpha value as a minus 5 by 2. That is a 0 of this polynomial. That's a 0 of this polynomial. Okay? 0. So here the constant term you are going to get it in the numerator. Coefficient of x you are going to get the denominator. So these two are the coefficients. These two are the coefficients of the polynomial. So the 0 of the polynomial, linear polynomial, is equals to the minus of the, suppose ax plus b if you consider polynomial, general form, minus b by a is the 0 of the polynomial. So there is a relationship between the zeros and coefficients of the polynomial. Okay, so we are going to get the 0 of this polynomial as minus b by a. We are going to get the 0 of this polynomial as minus b by a. Okay, so the minus b by a is it. So minus of constant term by coefficient of x is the 0. So this is the linear polynomial. If you take it to consider the linear polynomial zeros, we are going to get it like this. Now let us go to the quadratic and cubic polynomials. Relationship relate the zeros and quadratic and cubic polynomial with its coefficients. Okay. So now here, whenever you consider the quadratic polynomial, ax square plus bx plus c, where a is not equals to 0, a is not equals to 0 if you consider, it is called a quadratic polynomial. Each quadratic polynomial zeros you consider as alpha and beta. So factor theorem use करके तो x minus alpha is becomes a factor, as alpha is the 0 of the polynomial. Alpha is the 0 of the polynomial means x minus alpha is the factor. Okay. And beta is the 0 of the polynomial means x minus beta becomes a factor of the polynomial. But here, if any polynomial a is the 0, its factors are x minus alpha, x minus beta, because alpha and beta 2 are the zeros of the polynomial. So for this polynomial, 2 zeros are there. So there will be a constant also, along with that constants case are multiplied, x minus alpha and x minus beta. Then you are going to get, on simplification, you are going to get it as a k into x square minus of alpha plus beta into x plus alpha beta. And when you compare the coefficients, kx square you are going to, k into k is multiplied inside. Now compare the coefficients. On comparing the coefficients, you are going to get, is it visible and audible to you? Hello? Can you hear me properly?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And comparing the coefficients, A will be, you are going to get it as K, and B we are going to get minus K into alpha plus beta. C you are going to get it as a K into alpha beta. K into alpha beta, because completely it is a constant. So these three equations, whenever you are simplifying, equation 1 and 2 if you take into consider, in the place of the K if you replace by A, and alpha plus beta you are going to get minus B by A. Minus B by A is nothing but minus of coefficient of x by coefficient of x square, alpha plus beta. And alpha into beta you are going to get from third equation and first equation. Alpha into beta is equals to, yes, any one of you, C by A. You are going to get it as a C by A. So the product of the zeros, alpha into beta is equals to C by A. You are going to get it. Okay. So constant term C is nothing but constant term, A is nothing but coefficient of x square. So C by A you are going to get it. So this is the relationship between the zeros and coefficients of the quadratic polynomial. Now let us see the cubic polynomial. Same way, if you proceed the cubic polynomial, assuming the zeros are as alpha, beta and gamma, then x minus alpha, x minus beta, x minus gamma becomes the zeros of the polynomial. And in the same pattern, if you go on multiplying, so we are going to get the relationship between the zeros and coefficients. The finally, your simplification is same as it is, and comparing the coefficients. So you are going to get it here. The relationship is alpha, beta, beta, gamma, gamma, alpha is equals to C by A. Sum of the product of the zeros taken two at a time. Two zeros taken at a time, their product, and that product sum should be taken. So that is C by A. And the next thing is that when you use the equation 1 and 3, equation 1 and 4 if you are taking into consider, alpha, beta, gamma is equals to minus D by A, you are going to get it. Sum of the zeros we are going to get minus B by A. Means alpha plus beta plus gamma is equals to minus B by A. Alpha, beta, beta, gamma, gamma, alpha is equals to C by A. And alpha, beta, gamma is equals to minus D by A. So, one C minus, with minus we are going to get, another one is with a plus you are going to get. So, this is the relationship between the zeros and coefficients of the cubic polynomial. So these are the points what we have done. Once let us recall that. Okay. So alpha is the zero of the polynomial, means linear polynomial, means that alpha will be equal. Here you are going to have the only one zero. One zero is there, so relation cannot be developed. Alpha, beta, two zeros for the quadratic polynomial if you consider. Sum of the zeros, alpha plus beta is equal to minus B by A. Alpha, beta is equals to C by A. Alpha plus beta is equals to minus B by A, and alpha beta is equals to C by A. So three quadratic cubic polynomial, whenever you are, these points please note down. Okay, very important thing here you need to take into consider here. The alpha, beta, gamma are the three zeros of the polynomial if you are taking into consider. Alpha plus beta plus gamma is equals to minus B by A. Alpha, beta, beta, gamma, gamma, alpha is equals to C by A. Sum of the product of the zeros taken two at a time. Okay. And product of the zeros is equals to minus D by A. Okay. So these main points are this one. Based on this only you are going to have the problems. Okay. So now here, division algorithm for the polynomials. Actually, this division algorithm for the polynomials, this year it is deleted from your syllabus. So, normally division, this is what do you call here? Whatever it is shown, 36 is equals to 5 into 7 plus 1 is polynomial dividing, we are going to divide one polynomial by the another polynomial and state and verify the division algorithm. So you may get a questions division, but division algorithm is deleted. So division algorithm, so this is called the division rule. Normally numbers whenever you are taking into consider. Numbers whenever you are taking into consider, 5 sevens are 35 and 1 is 1. So dividend is equal to divisor into quotient plus remainder. What do we call this one? It is called as division rule. It is called as division rule. So dividend is minus 6x square and divisor if you are taking polynomial. Let us consider the polynomials into the consideration. So when you divide the one polynomial, a cubic polynomial by any quadratic polynomial. Here the x cube division process is, first what you do, first term of the polynomial should be divided in the first term, and whatever you get x you have to write there, and ox ये divisor से multiply करना है. So when you multiply whatever you get, that product should be written down. So x cube minus 3x square. See here, you are going to get it here. This should be, it should be multiplied. X should be multiplied with this polynomial, and whatever the result product you will get, that product, that polynomial to be written here and subtracted. When you subtract the first term, automatically will be getting cancelled. And here minus 3x square. Here again first term should be divided by the first term of the division. So minus 3x square को x square से divide करना है. So you will get minus 3 to be written in the quotient place, and minus 3 से divisor को पूरा multiply करना है. And whatever you get here, that should be written here, and which is x minus 2 you are going to get it. This x minus 2 is the remainder. So we cannot perform here. Can we perform x by x square whenever you are dividing 1 by x? You are going to get it. So it's 1 by x is not a polynomial. So that's why you are not supposed to proceed. So you have to consider that x minus 2 itself as a, so degree is less than 1. So degree is the, whatever the degree you are going to get, that is divisor degree से कम है. So division algorithm for the polynomial says that if f of x and g of x are the polynomials such that f of x degree is greater than g of x. Actually p of x should be taken into consider. Instead of f of x, p of x also you can take into consider. And there exist two polynomials, q of x not equal to 0 and r of x, such that p of x is equals to g of x into r of x, g of x into q of x plus r of x, where r of x is equals to 0 and degree of r of x is less than the degree of g of x. ये दोनों में एक condition satisfy हो. Either the polynomial remainder may be equal to 0 or degree less than the divisor. Degree should be less than the divisor. So dividend is, in our case, whatever the example we have taken in that, dividend is x cube minus x square plus 12x plus minus 8, and divisor is x square minus 3x plus 2, and remainder is x minus 2, and the quotient is x minus 3. Quotient is x minus 3. So when you see that, multiply the divisor and quotient and add the remainder, you are going to get the dividend. So dividend is equals to divisor into quotient. Here dividend is usually represented as a p of x or f of x, and g of x is the divisor with what we are performing the division, and q of x is the quotient and r of x is the remainder. Here r of x should be equals to 0. R of x should be equals to 0. Okay, so this is a division algorithm. Actually, division algorithm is deleted from your syllabus this year, 2020-21, because due to the COVID-19 situations, we are not able to complete. So that's why it is deleted. So, but better you know at least the statement, and problems based on that you can read for the examination point of view. but division you have to perform. Okay, this is about the polynomials and all the polynomials problems based on that you need to practice well. And if you have any doubt in a polynomials